The DCU continues its reinvention, following up last year's Superman with this year's iteration of the alien from planet Krypton come to inspire hope on Earth. But first, a quick detour to celebrate her birthday. It's Supergirl. I'm Ronald Young Jr., and I'm leaving the theater. All right, this is Ronald, and I am leaving the theater after seeing Supergirl. Supergirl, written by Ana Nogueira, directed by Craig Gillispie, starring Millie Alcock, Matthias Schoenaerts, Eve Ridley, David Krumholtz, Emily Beecham, David Corenswet, and Jason Momoa. Per usual, for complete listing of the cast and crew, check out the link in our show notes. It's been a while, but I'm not here alone. I am here with
Daisy Rosario, and thanks for having me, Ronald. I'm happy to be here.
This is always great because every time you show up, I'm like, ooh, a guest for leaving the theater. Impromptu. I did not plan for this. This was not something that planned, but you walked in and I was like, you'll be on the show and I will be taking you home. Two things that I am 100% good with.
I mean, I appreciate that. It's a pretty sweet deal on my end. I get to hang out with you and I get a ride home. Like, you're saving me on an Uber. Yeah. So
friendship and convenience.
Yeah.
We're doing it all here on Leaving the Theater. All right, Supergirl is a DC extended universe movie, or actually I think they're just calling it the DCU now to differentiate it from the DCEU, which was the original rival to the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So now this is the DCU, which was taken over by James Gunn and has been being changed with Peacemaker, the television show, the new Superman movie, Creature Commandos, and now Supergirl is the latest entry in this new version of the DC universe. It is a story of Kara, who is Clark Kent's cousin. She has a Kryptonian name. I'm not going to... You can Google it. She's the main character. She's Supergirl, okay? She's Supergirl. And we meet her when she is celebrating her birthday and in grief. And in the middle of this, she is interrupted to go on a quest to do one particular thing or several particular things and stop a lot of bad people from doing things. Okay, that's the plot of the movie. There will be spoilers here because I do not think I can talk about this movie the way I want to without talking about spoilers. But per usual, we'll kick it off by saying, Daisy, what did you think of this movie?
I mean, I thought it was a movie. I've used that line before in life, but that was... I didn't enjoy it very much, but I also didn't think that...
I love that. Go ahead.
I didn't enjoy it very much, but I also felt, sometimes I just think something is like really bad. And this one I really was like, is this just not hitting with me? Like, I could see other people digging this a lot more than me, which is not always true. Like, sometimes I know that like financially it'll still do well. But there were aspects of it that I could see other people finding really engaging. There were just a lot of things that I found really distracting about it. And the ways that they were distracting were consistent enough throughout that then I like couldn't get my mind off of those things. The biggest two being that I couldn't stop thinking of both Guardians of the Galaxy, but also the Mad Max movies. And I thought about that early, and then it was like they kept trying to prove it to me. And that is a weird thing, so it was just hard for me to ignore that. I think if you're not noticing all those details, I think you might get swept up into the actual story and the characters a little bit more, because the core idea itself isn't a bad idea, but it just didn't do anything for me. At the end of it, I was like, yep, you made a movie and good for you.
Okay, so I will be your foil when you just said if you weren't distracted by the Mad Max and the Guardians of the Galaxy of it all. I wasn't. Guardians of the Galaxy came up and it was away, and it didn't distract me. And I can tell you that at the core, I still didn't like this movie. Okay. So, so as far as I'm concerned, I know someone in there liked this movie. At the end of the movie, there was at least 12 people that burst into applause, but they were actually very stubborn with their applause because nobody joined in. And it was one of those things where you heard the 12 people deciding that this is going to be a good movie and they're going to clap for it. But I pretty sure that most people left this movie feeling very lukewarm about it. Now, I felt lukewarm about this movie up to a certain point. We will get into that point in 1 minute. It is when I turned to you and said Daisy, because after that, I wanted to go run through the film and rip down the whole thing and say, this is garbage. This was bad writing and I hate it. We'll get to that in a second. I don't want to, because that is going to be a long, extended rant that I go on. But let's just talk about some of the elements. I agree with you that it is reminiscent of other things, but I think the plot was it was so basic. And I think at first glance, you could say, well, good idea. You're not going to give us too much of the origin. Right. We're jumping right into the action. But then for me, I'm like, well, there's not really enough action for us to say that we really jumped into it.
Ooh, that's a good point. Yeah. I mean, yeah, when you're saying like the bad writing, like why were there times where I knew the line that was about to be said before it was said? Right? Like I almost said one out loud and I would have been 100% right. I also think the clapping thing, just to go back to that for a moment, is funny only because this is obviously not something everyone will experience even if they see this movie, but because we were at a press screening, they like gave away like one of the buckets before the movie and like Ronald was laughing at me because I started clapping and you're like, why are we clapping? And I was like, I'm a clapper. Yes. And I was like, I ain't clapping for this. Like, I clap easily.
I love that is a good callback because I just realized you just said that. You explained that to me like I clap easily. And sure enough, there's clapping and you did not join in.
I did not join in. I was like, thank you for passing me my bag. I will see you in the hall. It's like what I did. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like, I mean, I appreciate hearing that you just didn't like it either way because like I said, like I knew that I was being distracted by certain things. And so I just really couldn't tell where my feelings were necessarily coming from. And I try to be honest about that when I feel that, right? Like, 'cause sometimes there are times I don't like something on the first viewing because maybe I came in with too big of expectations or I am distracted by something else. And then I go back and I'm like, oh man, like I missed like the heart of this thing. I don't think that's going to happen with this. I would find it very hard to even think that I would watch it again. Like if I came home and my wife was watching it, say on HBO Max, as it will eventually be on because she hadn't seen it yet, I will probably be like, I will be in the other room until you are done. Like it just wasn't that compelling. There's a bunch of reasons. I do always think that at the core, like, it always starts with a not good script. I really do think that that's generally pretty true. I think that there are ways that you can also make a not good script work more, and this movie just did not have enough of those elements. There is one genuine laugh in this movie. It didn't make me laugh, but it made the audience laugh in a way that was so noticeable because of how quiet it had been throughout watching the movie to that point. And I want to say that was either like halfway or even maybe 2/3 into the movie. So, I mean, that's a long way through. But ultimately, I think I really just felt like I wanted to be rooting for Millie Alcock more, but I just didn't think she had enough charisma to save a script that's this not strong, if you will. Whereas like I kept thinking to myself like Emma Stone's too old now for something like this, but if you had like a young Emma Stone like in her like Easy A era had been in this movie, it would have easily been a better movie just by like the gravitational pull of her talent, right?
Absolutely
And
agreed.
That's not to say that like Millie Alcock's not talented, but like there's that little extra something where it really pulls in. Like I actually found it really noticeable when David Krumholtz showed up because I was like, that man is acting. And I don't mean that in a bad way.
Which one's David Krumholtz?
He's the character, the Supergirl's father.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yes. I love him.
Yeah.
And when he showed up, I remember thinking, oh, I'm glad he's in this film. But that happened several times. That also happened for me with Jason Momoa, and it happened for me with David Corenswet, where I'm just like, I know I want to be watching the Supergirl movie. I want to be watching this. But David Corenswet showed up, and I'm like, what is he up to? Can we... I would love to see what he's doing. And again, Jason Momoa shows up. And actually, I think the thing that Millie Alcock is lacking in this is that she's not actually funny.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in like in the misogynist women aren't funny way. I mean that comedy is not her bag, and I felt it in this, where I felt like she was acting like this instead of actually leaning into. There's an ease that Emma Stone would have brought to this in terms of being funny, and there were several ways in which I was watching this and saying, you're acting the role, but you're not getting why this is hilarious, you know?
Yeah, like, yeah, that's the thing. Like, comedy or that kind of like ease does come more naturally to some performers. And again, like, we know that Emma Stone is like, well, not only well beyond this material, but like in an age perspective, it doesn't make sense. But really just trying to think of somebody who kind of gave off that energy of like being able to carry something like this when they were young, or when they were more in the age group of like, that's somebody that would play this version of Supergirl. Like, that was just kind of the best example I could come up with. But, you know, I think you get what I mean, because yeah. And I will say they're not doing her any favors, because a significant portion of the beginning of the movie, she's like wasted, which is one of the hardest things to act. Yes. Like, genuinely, actors themselves, like, go watch old episodes of like Inside the Actors Studio, like, playing wasted is actually super hard, and that's how they start establishing the entire character. So you're already like putting her at a deficit, and then it doesn't feel like she has a particular aptitude for that kind of thing. It just felt like I don't know, like I think it was like it was one of those things where I was really like, a couple of dudes were like very attracted to her in a way that they could not see the way that everyone else would see this, right? And I say that being married to a woman. Like, I was like, it's not like I'm not attracted to women. I was just like,
everyone in this car is attracted to women, okay? So we would know.
Was not enough. It was not enough to save it. Like, yeah, you know, like I mean, I didn't watch House of the Dragon. I'm only aware of her from, you know, knowing, like, following pop culture and covering culture and knowing that she's out there as you know, and I thought she had the look for it, you know, like in the promotional materials, but then, yeah, like, just, it wasn't quite there in terms of like really pulling you in that way. I think Jason Momoa is really fun. So the moments when he's on are definitely better, but he's more vibes than like actor. Yeah. So even then it was kind of like, all right, well, if you could have at least had somebody that had, you know, that level of charm, because he has a lot of charm, right? I think that would have gone a long way to just making this more enjoyable. And then there were just a lot of choices that I found odd and kind of flat. There's like a lot of the music was weird to me in a way that, again, was distracting.
Agreed.
This is one of the reasons that I can't help but compare it to Guardians, is because they used a lot of like contemporary, like 20th century and 21st century music. And, but in Guardians, right? And this movie is not, this movie is not directed by James Gunn, but it is from James Gunn's new DCU that he's like overseeing, right? So it felt very as if they had like gone through and been like, these are the things that worked about that we should use in this. Not as poorly as like the first Suicide Squad movie that was really just trying to like paint by numbers a version of this, but like failed miserably. That is, by the way, the only movie I've ever fallen asleep in the theater for was the first Suicide Squad movie, which is hilarious.
Sorry to Will Smith.
It was so loud, and somehow I still fell asleep. But like, you know, in that original Guardians movie, and I think it was a really smart choice, like, and if you listen to James Gunn talk about it, he's talked about like, hey, I'm going to put you in this bizarre world where there's all these other things. I need to give you some grounding. I need to give you something familiar. But there's also a justification for why the music is that way. You know, that has to do with Star-Lord's, you know, cassette tape, etc. This was like pulling from all kinds of things. Like, there's a fight scene in a bar, but in the bar, which is also like a lounge, aliens are singing like a version of Girl from Ipanema that you could hear in a jazz bar here. Like the way that those choices were deployed felt really distracting and odd, and didn't necessarily feel like they were making choices to kind of change it as much as they were like, this will work, you know? Like, it felt very, I know this is a thing people say now, but it felt like, you know, like AI had come up with the ideas.
I agree with everything you said. I really don't. I mean, I think that this is a film that it exists. It's a film. And I think that it would have been fine. I would have walked out of this probably saying this movie would have been fine if not for what I'm about to describe happened in the middle of the film.
Oh, man.
So first of all, the people that she's up against are really bad people in that they are kidnapping little girls or teenage girls, and they are sex trafficking them. I'll just say that. They are sex trafficking them, which is, and when you think about what that means, which I'm sorry to put this on anyone's minds, then it means that these people are very, very, very bad. That's one. Given the opportunity to kill one of these guys and or stop them, you should do it. Because in this film, one of the characters tries to kill the lead person, is stopped by Supergirl, and minutes later, he slaughters an entire black family.
Yes.
Basically, among the few black people in this film, kills them so we can see it in front of us. And then when a conversation is had that says, you just got that family killed, Supergirl responds and says, I can't let this happen to you. I can't let you kill that man. It'll ruin you. But the sacrifice of these black people was worth it. And then she had the audacity to say, I gotta go get my dog, way too close to the fact that this entire black family is slaughtered in the streets. After that, I said, F this movie, F everyone who wrote this, and F anyone who watched this and didn't say, we got to cut that. That's not going to work. Let him just get away. And then he can swing the sword, and then the family could scurry off, because if we're not going to see the family anymore in the film, if they're gone, we're not going to see them. Then it doesn't matter if they're dead or if they're just gone. But to kill them in front of us, to me, feels like they're just being like, and then they're not even remembered. At some point, there's several people in this movie whose entire families are dead. This one could have been prevented, and we don't even take a moment to remember them at all. They're just gone. And I said Daisy, because I almost stood up to be like, boo, but what are we doing? Are we not going to protest this movie? It's 2026. I don't want to see this in my DC animated, my DC universe movies. I don't want to see this in there. And oh my God. If this would have been a normal, regular, bad movie. And because of that, it went down a full star for me, which I'll say my rating in a second, but it went down a full star for me because of that.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's real. And to be very clear, like, Ronald literally just, like, I could feel your head turn, and then out loud, he just went, Daisy. And I just, like, looked like, I know. I just don't even, I know. Like, that was egregious. And again, it is the kind of thing where I'm like, not to bargain by any means, right? But like, if I'm just thinking of the choreography of the moment, I would have accepted one of them dying based on just like the physicality of what was happening. But then it felt gratuitous in the moment as well, of being like, but also, and also, like, it was brutal in a movie that is like, brutal, but also not actually that much, right? Like, even the inciting incident in the movie itself is like, it is weird. Just the way that it's all set up is weird. Just the vibes of it are not good from jump. And then again, to go back to the sex trafficking part of it, right? There literally is sex trafficking, and it's like, these girls are the brides, which again, like, we are well into the movie by the time this specifically comes up. And again, I have already been thinking about Mad Max, and now you're throwing me like a Fury Road you know, theme of like these girls who are being held captive. But like, it just was too much. I found it just visually distracting. Like, the CGI doesn't look great. It's not terrible, you know, it's not like the worst that you've ever seen, but it has
like Ant-Man Quantumania.
Yo, I can't even. You liked that more than I did. I remember.
I liked it less because of you.
Yes, that is my legacy. Getting people to hate things the right way. It just was like, visually, it just was a little like smudgy. It wasn't as crazy as Quantumania, where like Corey Stoll's face is like stretched out, but it was just felt like kind of smudgy. And then again, it's like, because of the settings of it, it was a lot of that stuff where, you know what I kept thinking? You're telling me that we have this whole universe not even galaxy, the universe, galaxies, the whole bit of it, all of that. And yet we keep running up to these same familiar tropes delivered in the same familiar ways, right? Like, again, like in Guardians, not just the original movie, but in their trilogy and also like the specials that they've done, there is a location called Nowhere. Now, it's not that this is exactly the same, but it spends enough time in locations that look similar that, again, like I couldn't stop thinking about that, because I already know that I'm going to go into this movie and probably think about things that might feel James Gunnian about it, right? The dog is a huge part of the movie and a huge part of the motivation. I don't mind that inherently, but obviously that is something that James Gunn likes to do. And again, he didn't write or direct this movie, but you can't help but like notice that and again draw those comparisons, especially because we did first meet this version of Krypto in the Superman that he did direct and that he did write, you know? So it just felt very like, you're reminding me of better movies. Like, you are reminding me of better movies while not delivering. And then the styling of the guys, like straight up, if any of the guys that Millie Alcock's character and the girl that she was helping out were after, if any of them had just been like, my name is Taserface, I would have been like, that tracks. Like, that's just how it felt. Like, they weren't Ravagers, but they looked like those characters, just with different outfits that one might say were a little bit more Mad Max. Like, it just really felt like they took those two things together and tried to smash them together, and all they got out of that were like aesthetics, but not actually like thoughtful thematic elements.
Honestly, that's well said, and that the Ravagers point, I take it completely to heart. That's 100% accurate. If the Ravagers met Mad Max, that's who these baddies would be. Yeah. With all of that being said, here at Leaving the Theater, we rate movies out of 5 stars. You have not been here in a while. Yeah. You could go decimals, all of that. That's fine. 1 is just garbage. 5 is basically perfect, satisfying. 3 means I would watch it again. 4 is typically where most of the good movies land, around there. And 2 is just where most of the bad movies land, right around there. Out of 5 stars, Daisy Rosario, what do you give this film?
I'm going to take the decimals to heart. I'm going to give this like a 1.65. Like, it is a movie. And the only reason it even... Because, like, now as we're talking about it, it's, like, making me more mad. I mean, like I said, when I started this conversation, I was like, maybe other people would like this more. And now I'm like, nope. I will say, like, I am in my mid-40s. I've got ADHD. I am in perimenopause. And everything I've said about this movie is the most coherent string of thoughts that I've been able to put together in possibly 2 years. So what is that about? But, yeah, I'd say, like, because I don't want to watch it again. Like I said, I'd probably stay in the kitchen and be like, I'm going to get started on prep if I came home on, like, dinner prep if I came home and my wife was watching it. It's not a 1, because a 1 for me would have to like literally have like a scene missing. Like, you'd have to be like, what happened? Like, what is going on? But I just don't, I dislike it even more now than when I was watching it, now that we've actually like taken some time to process. So I'm going to give it a 1.65.
I'm definitely going to have more to say to you after we cut the mics off, but I'm going to say this. I think a 1.65 is a fair rating. I'm going to give it a 2 because I did like Jason Momoa. I did like David Corenswet. I did like when Millie Alcock was unleashed and actually destroying things and doing that and being Supergirl. I don't think that this was the plot for her to be in. I don't like this as an introduction to her character. I do not think she went on the journey that the movie thinks that she went on. Towards the end, there are emotional beats that do not land because the work was not done in the script. And most of all, above all, if I could just be honest, y'all killed the black family out of nowhere for no reason, and it hurt my feelings. I did not like it. I do not like when I have to see that in fictional movies and films. It feels wrong, and it also feels like it meant nothing to the folks who actually did it. So yeah, to me, it's a 2 of 5-star movie. And with that, Leaving the Theater is a production of Owens Big Rod Studios. I mixed this episode and I am working very hard. This week, you should have noticed that 2 episodes of Leaving the Theater came out last week, which was... It was Toy Story 5 and it was Scary Movie. This week we have Supergirl. There's also, I missed Disclosure Day. That's going to come out this week. We've got a lot of movies coming out, in a very short time, which means a lot of episodes coming out in a very short time. I'm very excited to do them all. I'm also working on an entirely other new podcast, which I'm very excited about. I'm going to be announcing soon. Patreon people will be the first to know everything that is going on. I am working very, very hard. And for folks who have looked at the Patreon and said, oh, there hasn't been anything new in a little while, that's because I'm working very hard, and a bunch of new stuff is all going to be put out there in a very short succession. So what does that mean? It means that I'm putting in a lot of labor. It's a labor of love, but it is still labor. If that means something to you, go on over to patreon.com/ohitsbigron or go to the link in our show notes. Show art from Heather Wilder. Theme music by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. For more information about Supergirl or Daisy Rosario, check out our show notes. You can follow me on Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok, Threads, or Letterboxd at ohitsbigron. That's at OHITSBIGRON. You can find out more about this show and other Oh It's Big Ron Studios shows by following us on Instagram at Oh It's Big Ron Studios. Leaving the theater, we'll be back soon. Thanks for listening, and thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. Why was the main villain always eating like he was Brad Pitt in Ocean's 11?
I'm Ronald Young Jr., and I'm being funny.